Get me out of here. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, Sincerely Anonymous. My name is Negin. You can call me Negin. And this week we are discussing the topic mental institutions. Now, before we react to the videos, there are just some things I want to state or clear up. So, mental institutions aren't just for people that committed a crime. A lot of times we associate those institutions with people that go to court and say they're mentally ill, so then they don't have to go to jail based on reasons of insanity, or they're not guilty based on reasons of insanity. However, these institutions also exist for many other disorders. Basically, it's when your mental health is going out of your own control. And what these institutions do is they give you medication. They vary, honestly, on their level of integrity and care. One mental hospital could be one full of people that care about you and want to help you, and another one could just be people who are forced to be there and don't even want to be there. In fact, there was a study done by a psychologist. They went to a mental institution and basically they knew what all the disorders, all the mental illnesses. So they went and they, I think, faked being schizophrenic or something. I honestly don't know what they faked being, but they faked having a mental illness and eventually got institutionalized. Then they started acting normal. And they were just writing down all the information, everything they encountered. And what they said was that throughout the stay, that other hospitalized individuals would say, "Hey, why are you here? Like, there's nothing wrong with you. Why are you here?" However, the nursing staff and the rest of the staff didn't even realize that and just treated the person as if they were incompetent. Now, again, those are just, it's based on the mental hospital and your area. Places like the United States do have a lot of mental hospitals. UK also has a decent amount. It decreases once you reach Australia, decreases once you reach Canada. I think Canada has like 16, I don't know. And when we go outside of that, it honestly decreases more and more. So why do people end up there? Well, a lot of times it could also be self-harm. Self-harm is very common, a very common reason. Actually, the top illnesses that are more likely to result in being institutionalized is depression, which is just a feeling of self-loathing. Like, it's like, ugh, like you just don't like yourself, and it's internalized. So people with depression, depending on their level of depression, they could try to commit suicide. They don't want to live anymore. Thus, they try to commit suicide or they cut themselves, and it's out of control. Because what a mental illness is you have some little voice come in your head and be like, "Hey, do this, do this, do this." And the voice isn't necessarily there when you think of like depression and anxiety. Honestly, we associate voices with schizophrenia. However, with depression, it's your own internal thoughts that are just talking to you. Another one is bipolar, and we have type 1 and type 2 bipolar. Bipolar is basically when you can reach a level of depression and a level of mania, which can often be confused with borderline personality disorder. The thing with bipolar is that it's long term, so like you're depressed for like 10 days, mania for 10 days, whatever. Borderline personality, 1 minute you could be angry, the next minute you could be crying. So those are also usually institutionalized. And then the last one, and I think this is the one that people associate with the most, is schizophrenia. And that is when you hear voices. People that have schizophrenia sometimes hear actual voices that aren't their own internal voices. Those are called auditory hallucinations, or they see things, visual hallucinations. And sometimes these imaginary characters or people in their head tell them to kill people. They tell them to be violent, and it goes out of control. it just explodes. And yes, mental illness can have triggers. So that person could be triggered. PTSD is another one. That person could be triggered and then leads to a schizophrenic episode, a psychotic episode. They go crazy. Which is why I think it's important to stop making this concept of taboo. We need to actually prevent it. Like, start young, understand, okay, people can be born with these disorders. Like sociopaths, even though they're not really considered mentally ill and get put in jail during crimes, but these people like are born with a genetic concept that says, hey, it's possible for you to get this disorder. Schizophrenics usually find out at 25. Like when they turn 25, that's when it really like hits strong. And once we accept that, hey, these are disorders, when they're young, we can catch it. We can say, oh, okay, you look like you're gonna go through a depressive episode. Like, you look like you have depression. Let's look at your parents. Oh, they're drug addicts. Okay, so you have that. You're in a bad home. That's triggering. You have the already genetic factor because people go towards drugs for some reason. You know, sometimes mental illness leads to drugs. Sometimes drugs lead to mental illness. And so let's just get you out of the situation. Start offering you therapy. You're never too young to start therapy. So those are the reasons that medication is actually important, because it helps the mind. It's a chemical imbalance when you're mentally ill. Some regions of the brain work, some don't. In fact, with schizophrenia, the same regions that would turn on when one sees someone or hears someone, in schizophrenics, when they're hallucinating, the same regions turn on. So honestly, it's biological and chemical, so that's why medications help, but so does therapy. Anyway, that was my little rant. Let's actually start reacting to our first video. Okay, so our first video is going to be a patient at one of the most notorious mental health facilities located in the UK, and that's Broadmoor Hospital. Pretty much they accept or watch people that are very hard to manage. These could be individuals that went to prison and they couldn't manage it, whether it's aggression or anything, seeing things, and people that just really want to hurt themselves. It's a very highly secure hospital as security. These are the patients that people see in these mental hospital shows that attack, but as we can see by the video we're about to watch, people can be so many different people, and sometimes they don't want to be one of them, but it happens. So let's go into it, and then we'll talk about it.
Nasty person. I'm quite violent, or very violent in most circumstances. Very antisocial. I don't like spending time with people. Paranoid. I'm not very paranoid. Every person is around me. I'm thinking what's their intention, and sometimes I come very close to attacking people because I'm thinking that they're going to do something to me, and I don't want to get hurt first. I remember one time without my medication, I think it was like 11 months locked in a cell, segregated, due to the fact that I was too dangerous to come out.
Dang, he was too dangerous to come out. And if you saw his arm, it had a lot of cuts, which means he probably did a lot of self-harm. I don't know if those are from another person he got in a fight to, but that looks like marks of self-harm. He associates himself with being antisocial, which pretty much is the term for sociopath, kinda. You don't really have emotions associated with it, and you could tell by just the monotone he was saying. He was like, I'm dangerous and that's why I'm here. So you can only imagine what he did to deem himself as so dangerous that they had to have an extra watch on him. And he brought up the concept of medication. Honestly, like I always say, medication helps those that need the medication, if that makes sense. If you don't need medication, you just need therapy, by all means just do therapy. Like, do not add drugs when you don't need to. So this video is a different one, and it's about a different facility, and this facility is in the United States. It's not like a big notorious one, but it is a mental hospital. mental institution, and this is just a class they have or a gathering. What is really common is therapy. So people do group therapy, individual therapy, but this is kind of a form of group therapy, talking, letting it out. It's really important to talk about what's going on inside your head, or it'll just stay in the head. Then it won't have a release. Then it'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So let's see this.
You know, that's what I'm thinking. Jose, I can understand because we feel comfortable being uncomfortable. That's how I was for a long time. In some form, I used to think I was trying to commit suicide in some way, or just on a small scale of just buying some narcotics. It's a form of suicidal because I'm not knowing what I'm about to put in my body. It doesn't matter to me sometimes.
I think what he said was very significant. It honestly blew my mind. It is committing suicide. When people become addicted, they don't care. They just care about that feeling. They care about that drug. Why? Because that's the only time they feel sane. And yeah, 100% true. That is why people with mental illnesses could go towards drugs. That caught me. I think that was a very good statement. So in this video, someone that works for Vice when interviewed a person that works for the facility. Again, full videos down there are the little links, the little description. That's what I mean by down there. And this is just him talking about their resources, what's going on, just to have a little administrative view on these systems.
What's taking place?
These are where we house our low-level mentally ill offenders. These units are almost always filled. And it's one of the points I've always tried to explain to people with these national crime trends all going down around the country, same here. We have been able to close down a couple of our divisions. And the only place we've ever been overcrowded in the last 7 years has been our acute mentally ill floor. And that's overcrowded almost every day.
And what are we watching right here, right now?
This is a program that we contract out with a group called West Care, and it's a program that they sit and they talk with the individual who is really trying to go through a whole litany of things here. And I say, okay, give me the philosophy and the theory of why this person should be in here. And all I keep coming back is, well, they committed a crime. Well, I said, well, when they're showing up at my door within hours of having committed the offense and they're acutely mentally ill, how can you show the...
There's a point where institutions become like cages. At what point are we just treating people like subjects, like even worse than animals? How often are we treating people as just an object or something to just take care of? When we create these institutions, whether this is a mental hospital, whether it is jail, whatever other department. And as it was stated here, it's underfunded. And just knowing that more and more and more and more people are going into these institutions, it either means more people are trying to get help or the problem is getting worse. The problem. Now, what is the problem? The problem is instability. It's losing control of oneself involuntarily. That's the problem. And the problem needs to be viewed at before it becomes an actual problem. So this is recovery. These individuals are going through recovery right now. They have to find who they are without this other part of themselves that was controlling them at some point. They have to exit, whether that is rage, whether that is depression, whether that is mania, whether that is any psychotic episode. Now it's, okay, why am I like this? Why do I have these emotions? Why do I have these feelings? Why did I end up here? How can I better the future for myself? Because it's time. Because I can. So it's just like taking a stand. So it's become evident that a lot of times, in fact, majority of the times people end up in a mental institution is due to a huge mental health episode. It's these episodes that cause the big destruction, which leads them to having to be either incarcerated or in a dangerous situation or harming themselves, anything. So I went and asked some anonymous people, lovely people that you guys, that you admit, Anyway, I went and asked some anonymous individuals, how did you overcome your worst mental health episode? Now, let's see what they said. Okay, Jim, anonymous one. Gym is really therapeutic. Next, exercise, meditation, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Yes, please try exercising. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling anger, exercising is a phenomenal outlet. When we get these emotions, we're so built up, and what exercise does is it allows a way to release it and gain the endorphins, and it's actually a positive thing you're doing. Exercise is amazing, and yes, therapy, meditation, all that good, but I exercise. Remember that. Next, someone said I didn't. It's okay. Time. Professional treatment and using a bullet journal to start tracking self-care. It's common for people with depression and have memory issues. This was the worst experience of my life, so I just wrote everything down, then wrote my work schedule in it, so I had to remember to look at it. I had a little symbol for showering and put an X beside it to remember doing it. From there, it was adding goals into the mix. Like exercise. Again, exercise. Do you see this exercise? But that was amazing. Wow. Next, mine wasn't too long ago. Something somewhere traumatic happened to me and my family in 2019, which left me with major anxiety issues. I started going to therapy, and that helped a bit. Then COVID happened, and my anxiety just turned into daily panic attacks. I tried things I found online, like grounding methods and exercising and doing yard work, etc. It helped some, but the more I fought to keep my mind off my anxiety, the worse my periods of anxiety and panic attacks would be when I couldn't ignore them. Eventually, one of my doctors prescribed me Zoloft, and I'm pretty much back to my normal self. Seeking help was the best thing I could have done, and I'm glad I did it. Some people, it's chemical. Tracking my mood daily helped me see a long-term pattern and helped my doctor make a proper diagnosis so I could get a treatment that actually worked. Perfect. That's like the bullet journal. 2 months of inpatient psych. There you go. Mental hospitals do apparently help people who are inpatient psych. 10 days in a psychiatric hospital, then volunteering getting involved in a program specifically with people with mental health issues. That's amazing. You go towards things that impact you. Perfect. Okay, and the last one we are going to read today is straight up, I didn't die like I thought I was going to, even if I did. Life didn't stop to accommodate for my breakdown or death. No one cared, and it was me against the universe. The moment I realized how little I actually matter in the ground scheme of things is the moment that stopped affecting and upsetting me and the way it did before. The moment I decided to be selfish and take care of myself instead of everyone else, while they basically wrote me off anyway. 90% of our mental health is other people's BS. That does not and never will serve us. The moment I let everything go is the moment I realized I could live my own life the way I wanted to live it. And life is grand, my friend. No joke, I'm not messing with you. You have to treat yourself right and follow your own passions. The people meant to be in your life will not try to stop you and will still be there when you are ready to share your adventures at the campfire. Don't want to be depressed? Well, treat yourself like you treat your best friend. Oof. Treat yourself like you treat your best friend. Treat yourself like you treat your best friend. Is the moment I was set free and actually got a chance to enjoy the fact that I was alive. Don't want to be depressed? Treat yourself like you treat your best friend. I think that was a perfect ending. I think that's a new golden rule. Treat yourself. Not treat others the way you want to be treated. Apparently not, but it's treat yourself like you're your own best friend. That was perfectly said. Thank you, Anonymous. Perfectly said. And I don't think I could end it better myself. So I do want to thank every single one of you for watching this episode, for coming to my channel, for subscribing, liking, ringing the bell. And if you haven't done that yet, great opportunity to do it right now. Look at you. See, I'm just reminding you. And I will see you guys at the next episode. For now, so long.